After Persia conquered Babylonia and freed the Judeans from exile, Ezra and Nehemiah became the most important voices of the time. Their two biblical books cover almost a full century of history, from 538 BCE to 420 BCE. The book of Ezra starts with the Judeans being sent back to Judah and the rebuilding of the temple. According to Ezra 1, it was Yahweh who stirred the heart of King Cyrus to send the exiles home and help them rebuild their temple. Interestingly, this claim can be partially substantiated by archaeological evidence, although it was not Yahweh who stirred Cyrus's heart, but rather Marduk. It was very important for the returning exiles that the temple be restored. The prophets Haggai and Zechariah proclaimed that Yahweh would restore Judah's blessings and prosperity once the Judeans restored their cultic activities. The temple took 22 years to be rebuilt. 50 years after that, Ezra came onto the scene. He was sent to Judah by the Persian King Artaxerxes to ensure that the returnees were doing well. As a scholar of the Torah, he took a protocopy of the Pentateuch with him. Arriving in Judah, he was shocked at how many of the Judeans married foreign women. Ezra instructed in Ezra 10, verse 10 to 11, "You have committed a terrible sin. By marrying pagan women, you have increased Israel's guilt. So now confess your sin to the Lord, the God of your ancestors, and do what he demands. Separate yourselves from the people of the land and from these pagan women." The reason Ezra condemned mixed marriages were twofold. Firstly, throughout history, the Israelites kept their bloodline pure. As God's people, they kept themselves separate from other inferior nations. Secondly, the fear was always there that foreign wives would influence their husbands to worship foreign gods, something the religious leaders of Judah could not risk. 13 years later, word was received of the sad state of the walls and gates of Jerusalem. The Persian king Artaxerxes sent another one of his officials, Nehemiah, to what was now known as Jehud. The rebuilding of the walls and gate did not come without resistance. The surrounding nations opposed the fortification of Jerusalem, as this could lead to possible future military action. We read in Nehemiah 4, verse 16 to 17. "But from then on, only half my men worked, while the other half stood guard with spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. The leaders stationed themselves behind the people of Judah, who were rebuilding the wall. The laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting the load and one hand holding a weapon." Apart from rebuilding the walls and gates, Nehemiah also spoke against the exploitation of poor peasants. On the religious front, he restored the privileges and service of the Levites, urged the Judeans, who were now known as Jews, to keep the Sabbath, and reiterated Ezra's damnation of mixed marriages. It is clear from the narratives found in Ezra and Nehemiah that Jerusalem, the temple, and the law started to play important roles in the lives of the Jews. These became the center of the religious lives of the Jews, giving them a new religion than before the exile. In the next episode, we will look at literature that opposed the views of Ezra and Nehemiah and other commonly held religious beliefs of the time.